Hey guys, this is a part of our African mask unit. We are going to go ahead and learn how to work with clay. We are going to start by using templates. You don't have to use templates. You can make any kind of mask that you want to make, anything that you designed or anything else that you can think of. Just make sure you run it by me first. We do not have very much class time this year. Our class time has been cut, so let's make sure we use it wisely. These are the templates that I do have. What you'll be doing is you'll be following the outside shape. I have each one of them on computer paper. I have them pre-cut here so that you can see what they look like. You use them as a guide. Okay. So I've decided I'm going to use templates today. That was my first choice because I have done my worksheet and I have cut my template because I've decided to use a template. This is your clay. This is air dry clay. This does not get put into a kiln. This air dry clay has a special chemical in it that makes it get super hard, so it is safe to paint and take with you. It's a little more brittle than regular clay. So the first thing we have to do is we absolutely have to make sure that we wedge our clay. And when we're wedging our clay, you can do it one of two ways. Okay, now we're not going to kill the clay, but we are going to push the air bubbles out. One way is a little bit harder, and I'm going to show it first. We push with our hand, push down with the pad of our hand here, push forward. So we're pushing down and forward. We're going to turn, push down and forward, not folding the clay. If you fold it, you will put more air bubbles in it. And you just keep turning, and I'm going to work a little bit faster. Okay, this is really hard not to fold the clay, but this is what most people who are professional claysmen work with. Now, when I said we're not going to kill the clay, see how nice and smooth it is? We don't have a lot of folds. We have a few here. We'd still have to wedge a little bit more. Those folds are where the air bubbles hide. And we don't want the air bubbles because that makes your clay weak and makes it want to break at that point. So if I kept wedging, I could get it to a nice round ball, just like I did this one. Look how smooth that is. No air bubbles in there. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you guys a second way to wedge. And it's a little noisy. And I know I have the volume on here, so I'll try to be easy. But what you're going to do is you're going to pick up your clay and pop it on the table. You should not be beating the clay to death. But what you should be doing is turning and hitting the clay. You want to make sure that you start by hitting it at every angle, just firmly. You don't have to kill the clay. Firmly hit the clay. And then what you want to do is you want to pick which side is going to be your top and bottom. And I like to do this because it also helps you flatten it out a little better. Then I just turn it. Watch how smooth this is going to be. I like to make a cylinder with mine. So I'm just going to pick up and I'm going to keep turning just a little bit at a time. Look how nice and smooth that is. No air bubbles in there, right? Okay, now when I said I like to make a cylinder by doing that, it helps you when you flatten out the clay. You want to get your clay to approximately a 1/2 inch thickness. And the way that we do this is we pound out our clay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pound out our clay. Now we want to make sure we stay in the center of the clay because otherwise the edges of the clay are going to get very thin. So when we start to pound, we want to turn our palm, and we can turn this over. We can go again. And then we can go around the outside. Turn the palm to the center. And just a little bit on the outside. The outside always flattens faster than the inside. Again. Watch that thickness. If you think that you're getting a little thin on the edges, get it before it's really, really thin because you can't just press it in after that. If you think you're getting a little thin, turn it, press it in around the edges, and go again. Okay. So when I say a 1/2 inch, now some of you boys might have bigger fingers, but ladies, the 1/2 inch thickness is going to be about as thick as your pinky. Okay? About as thick as your pinky. If you cut it thinner than that, chances are your base, this is your mask base that you're making. The mask base might break. So we've got a nice thin, consistent, look how nice and thick that is on the edge, just as thick as it is here. You cannot be putting one of these templates on something that's really thin, because what happens is clay shrinks as it dries and it gets 10% thinner because the moisture leaves. And it gets super paper thin and it will just break. So make sure that you get it that 1/2 inch thickness to begin with. It will get a little bit thinner as it dries. We do not want over 1 inch thick. Over 1 inch thick will not dry correctly in the center and cook correct. So we want to go for that 1/2 inch. Okay, so I do have some clay tools here, and it's okay if you use clay tools. It's also okay if you use popsicle sticks. And I'm going to show you why. So these are clay tools, and the cutting tools are nice and thin. They're all plastic, so it's not a big deal. If we accidentally break one, please go ahead and let me know so I can kind of keep track so I can reorder next year as needed. But I know that they're getting older. They've been used probably about 5 different years now, so they're a little brittle. Popsicle stick works really, really well too, just in case you run out of clay tools. Everybody at your table is using the clay tools, whatever. Popsicle sticks work. I like to use it like a butter knife. So I'm going to put my hand here and watch this magic. You just cut out your template. Okay, don't dig sideways. You still have to keep it straight up and down, okay? Watch this magic. You can turn, this is on what's called wax paper. Wax paper is your friend. Your clay will not stick to your table. And I'm going to show you why your clay could stick to the table here in just a moment when we learn how to connect our clay or glue our clay together in a special way. Okay, so again, I am pushing down. Popsicle stick works just fine. Magic of templates they are faster. Yes, you can cut yours freehand. Yes, you can make your very own template, draw it exactly how you want it, then cut it out with a pair of scissors, and voila. See these little bitty edges? Watch this. We just smooth them down. Okay, so we've got these edges all nice and smooth, and we'll do an final smoothing and assessing of our piece. But right now, this is raw product, and we are just fine. We've done a good job. We've cut it out. It's the right shape. Okay, very easy with a template. So, I'm going to put my template right here because I want to look at it. I want to see what it looks like. Maybe I want to copy it exactly. Maybe I want to do something just a little bit different. So I've got this one that's a little bit different. Same shape as this one, just a little bit different. It doesn't matter, but we're going to learn how to attach things. I know that these are broken off, but these were just literally little ball of clay that was rolled and smashed thin and attached. Okay, and the other one's the same way. These were the same way. These were balls of clay that were rolled and then shaped into eyes. Same way with this piece of clay that was shaped and elongated. I like to start in a ball shape because it does help. Okay, so that. You can cut straight pieces for things like this, strips, like this. They're just straight strips. I like to roll them just a bit and smash them out. Get them nice and straight. And then I just cut the end off nice and straight there. I would measure and then literally just cut and attach there like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and use some of these techniques to attach. I'm going to do this piece too, and I'm going to show you guys. This is a 3D process. I do not want you carving into this. I want you to add. It is an additive process. Okay, so what I have here is I have a nice shape for this up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pre-measure just a little bit. That's pretty roughly the shape of that, I think. And then I'm just going to go in. I'm just going to cut what I think is about a fair shape for that. Nothing absolutely set in stone. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to make all of my pieces, if you have time to make all your pieces, that's great. And set them on there and see how you think they look and maybe change your mind or whatever. So I'm just going to, and they do stick a little bit, but when they dry, they will fall off. So this won't work, guys, just letting you know. Let's see. If I wanted to do these eyeballs, what I could do is, again, I could roll. I really like to roll because it does help belch some of that air out of the clay, just in case you've been cutting and some of that air is starting to seep back in. Okay, so what I can do is cut. I can cut a fairly rough shape. And then I can lay it on there if I want to. I can take a look. I can push a bit, pinch a bit, pull a bit. Okay, just keep shaping it until you get the shape that you want. Then you can attach that too. Not too bad. Okay. I was going to go ahead and do at least 1/2 of this mask. I'm just putting these on here just to get an idea of what I want. And of course, I don't expect you guys to work this fast. I know that you won't. You're not used to handling clay, and I don't know, maybe you guys played with Play-Doh a lot as a kid. Maybe you guys will surprise me, but I'm telling you, playing with Play-Doh will help you with this project for sure. And it helps your hands do what you want them to do. Okay, so I think I want that flat part at the bottom. I like that. Okay, so I don't have another eyeball there, but I think that I'm going to cheat a bit. I think I would like an eye there, so I'm just going to get a little piece of clay, roll, and just like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and put an eyeball on. All right, if you want these curved, guess what you have to do? They bend, look at that. It's like magic. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start putting this together. And yes, they look very different when they're raw clay. So I know this. I know it's hard to imagine them painted sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do something called slipping and scoring. I have this slip here. It is liquid clay. It is like glue, and what you want to do is you want to use it every time you attach. What? Every time? Yes, every time. Why? Because your project will fall apart if you don't. It looks like it's a little sticky, but it will dry and not stick. So what you have to do is called scoring and slipping. Scoring, this is a needle tool. No, it is not a shank. No, it is not a shiv. We are not getting each other with these or even playing like you're going to poke someone. If you do that, you're done and you will do worksheets instead of a clay project. Same but different. It is very important that we never remove these from the classroom. Once they are removed from the classroom, they are considered a weapon. I do believe I've said something like that in class when we were talking about some of our clay tools. It is not a good thing. Please don't do that. Okay, can you guys see all those little bitty scratches here and here? You want them both. That allows the slip to get into the clay. It pulls clay from your clay base and from your additive pieces. So we want to make sure we put just a little bit of slip. You don't need tons of slip. It doesn't have to be messy. Just a nice thin layer of slip to both. Okay, so we scored and we slipped. So then what we're going to do is we're going to attach. So then what I like to do is I like to run my finger around where I have attached, just to make sure it is nice and smooth. I've got it attached well. Okay, and that, as it sits overnight, is going to glue together. Okay. Let's see if I can angle this a little bit better. I know that there's a lot of glare and I apologize. This is literally like the best I can do here. Okay, so we have to do that to every piece. So every piece, does it have to be perfect? No. If you don't like the scratching technique, I'm going to show you another. It is still slipping and scoring, and that is just fine. Slipping and scoring again, if you don't like the scratch. Little bitty pokes, teeny tiny little bitty wormhole pokes. Okay, we're not going crazy. Even little pieces miss a hole, yes, even little pieces still have to be slipped and scored. Okay, so you're going to do that to every single piece all the way down. Okay, now when you get done with it, it will have to dry for an entire week before you go to paint. When you go to paint, I want you guys to think about the colors you're going to use. I have dark brown, a light brown, I have a flesh color, I have kind of a mustard color. They all look really, really nice on these. That's that mustard color right there. They look really nice on these. Okay, so I'm going to show you another technique. Okay, just really quickly. If you wanted to use this one, and yes, I pre-cut it because I'm trying to save some time. I pre-cut this one. I had the stencil, I sat and I did the cutting already. It takes too much time to do all that. So say you wanted a real nose, like on this one. You wanted a real nose. Okay, I did left one half raw and one half painted so you guys could kind of see that process. It looks so much different after it's painted. It's just very, very different. Okay, so if you wanted a real nose on here, doesn't matter if you want a long nose, a short nose, you have to start with a ball of clay. So that again helps squish that air out of there. A ball of clay. And what I like to do is I like to leave a little spot in the middle, you know, that little spot at the end of your nose that you scratch that's in between the nostrils. Okay, you can push, flatten, push, flatten. Sometimes I like to pinch a little bit. So do you want a big nose, a small nose? There's a small nose, okay? Do you want your nose down further? Now, a lot of things can be added by rolling what's called snakes. You want your clay to be moist for this, otherwise they just fall apart while you're trying to make them. So if you're making a lot of these little pieces and it takes you a while, put a wet paper towel over the top of it. It will help you so much. So if you want the bridge of your nose, you can attach that afterwards. Just these would have to be slipped and scored and laid down. You can make it go all the way up, just like that one. Okay, maybe you want a separation in between, I don't know. These are made the same way, literally snakes. Measure the length you think you want. Pinch off. You want the ends thin, so you would pinch them. Look at that, super easy. A lot of these things can be made by rolling snakes or a little ball of clay like this. These can be little balls of clay. This right here, this attachment here and here, these are little snakes that look like they're going in a spiral because they're curved around. Okay, these were snakes. That was a snake. Let's see. This one right here, I left half of it painted and half of it raw so that you could see it. Yes, it's three-dimensional. It has pieces that are added. They are additive. Okay. This one right here is a basic shape. This shape is a very good one if you were wanting to make something like a cat or a leopard, a fox, something, a wolf. I've had a gentleman make a wolf, and I can show you how to do that 3D process there. What you do is you cut that strip right there, and you lay it on there with the slipping and the scoring, the nose, a lot like that one. Just bring those nostrils down a little bit more so they're hooked. And then just regular eyes, okay? And just circles that were flattened and formed into almonds. Now the ears are a little bit different. I'll go ahead and show you an ear real quick because I have somebody that wants to make an animal every year and it takes so much time to stop. So there is the ear. Very easy, yes? Just thumb, push, flip, score, attach. See how that changed real quick? Possibilities are endless. Don't forget to scratch, or poke where you want it attached. Flip and score. Okay, everything has to be attached. Guys, I hope this was helpful. Okay, now real quickly before we end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to purposely stick clay by pushing it to the counter. In case you find it too hard to work on the wax paper, if you really push that clay into the counter, it does not want to peel up very good. So what you can do is you can actually use a tool called a wire cutter. There's also nylon cutters. If the wire is too rough for your hands, you take it in your fingers, the top of your hands. So you take it and slide it inside of your fingers, in between your index finger and your middle finger. You wrap and you pinch. You push with your thumb. So you pinch to make sure that you got a good hold of it. Push with your thumb, flat, flat, flat against your table or counter, because you don't want to accidentally cut the bottom of your clay off. Okay, it's stuck to that counter. Oh no, I can't get it up. My project's ruined. No, it's not. Da, da, da. You will lose a little bit off the bottom if you don't keep it nice and flat. So I want to make sure I show that to you. Oh, how do I get that off? Well, there's two options. I do have a few of these little scrapers, and I also have a few little pieces of plastic that I have made into scrapers and cut my own because I want to make sure everybody had a chance to get a scraper. They work really well too. Just plastic that I've cut into scrapers. Okay, they work really well. All right, guys. Hopefully we are ready to make bases. We're going to be making those bases, right? All right. Good luck.